My Hanna Ultra Low Phosphorus Checker gave me a reading of... This is CC Purple Haze from the top. It's really nice. It's a really nice coral. I love... Hello my friends, welcome to the July 2021 update of the 140 gallon SPS Dominant Reef tank. Real quickly before we get started, if you're new to this is a channel that's all about the reef aquarium hobby. I try to share footage of coral as well as my experiences, both good and bad, and hopefully try to help you succeed in this hobby. So if any of that interests you, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. This video is going to be structured a little differently than my previous videos because in this video we are going to focus on one specific issue, and this one issue has caused my SPS to go downhill and not do well, and in some cases I fear I may actually lose a few pieces. In this video I'm going to share with you what's going on, give you the facts that will hopefully flesh out the background, flesh out everything that's happened leading up to this. And then we're going to look at some indicators so that hopefully this is not going to be a wasted experience. We're going to be able to learn from this. And in the future, if you see anything similar in your tanks, you will have an idea of where to look, where to start to look. So after we go through all the facts, all the background, and the indicators, then I'm going to show you the tank parameters. When I'm sharing these parameters with you, I'm not sharing them so that you can adjust your parameters to try to emulate it. I'm sharing them because oftentimes I get a lot of questions on what my tank parameters are. And so by putting it in the video, that's going to answer a lot of the questions. After the tank parameters, we will do the top-down view. A while ago, I started dosing nitrates, and things really improved. So my nitrates had bottomed out. And also, the last couple of months, life's just been really busy. A lot of things have happened. So unfortunately, like most things, the tank did get neglected. And I did notice there were two coral in particular that were affected. One of them's no longer in the tank. So as you can see here, I've got a big empty space. The bird's nest coral used to be here, and it had grown. It was really big. It was probably close to a foot in diameter. And typically what happens with these bird's nest corals is that they grow really fast, they get really big, and then they die off. So when this guy started dying off, I didn't really think much of it. I was just like, okay, it was just his time to go. I did notice there was some brown stuff on the tips, and they were kind of stringy and bubbly. So I believe those were dinos. And right away, that should have tipped me off. But I didn't think much of it, and I just didn't have the time to deal with it. The second piece, I'm really sad that this guy's looking in the state he is. This is my fox flame. And he's slowly deteriorated over, I would say, a few weeks. And because I didn't really have much time, I just kept testing alkalinity, and my alk was fine. So I figured maybe this is a blip and he'll just come back. And today he's actually looking much worse than he looked a couple days ago. So really unfortunate. So as you can see, I'm seeing mesenterial filaments from some of my acros. And I'm not just telling you this just because I like to hear my own voice. Listen to all these facts, and these are all indicators. To be honest with you, I've never played around with nutrients very much. So prior to all this happening, prior to dosing nitrates, I had sufficient phosphates, but my nitrates were literally zero. Ever since dosing nitrates, coloration has improved. Definitely, I'm seeing better responses from a lot of these coral. So what have I noticed? I've noticed, and I wouldn't call this RTNing because it's happening over a few weeks. This is one of the indicators that I missed. A bit of a slow STN, I would say. So some of the flesh is coming off. The second indicator, I'm seeing mesenterial filaments from my acros, which I don't normally see. Third indicator, some of the acros have paled a little bit. So some of the acros have paled a little bit. For some of them, yeah, it looks like parts of them are, the flesh is dying off. So this Red Diablo, and this Red Diablo has not looked good in, I would say, the last month's video as well. So that's the third indicator. And the fourth one is, yeah, this one really hurts. So this is CC Purple Haze. In the States, you have something called Robin Hood that's similar. And if you look at the base is receding a little bit. So that's a fourth indicator. And then the bird's nest and what looks like dinos. Here's one more indicator. My blue tip turaki, the tips are dying. And I noticed this a couple days ago. Again, it's a STN. So I'm not freaking out. And that's the most important thing. If something goes wrong in your tank, don't just freak out. Don't freak out, don't overcompensate, because you're going to do way more harm than good. Okay, so multiple indicators. I'm sure those of you that are experienced in reefing kind of already have an idea of what's happened. And if you look at my rainbow loom, I noticed this maybe 3 or 4 days ago. I was looking at it and I was like, wow, the tips look really, they look pale. And then there you can see the filaments. So what's going on? Well, so I did some reading, and one of the interesting things I read is that with dinos, when they say nutrients are out of whack, one thing I read was that, yeah, typically it's when your nitrates are much higher than where your phosphates should be. So if your phosphates are too low and your nitrates are too high, then you could run into a dino issue. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Then did more reading, and I was reading up on, hey, base recession, my tips. And with the tips, what I was told is, with the tips, what I read was that it's probably because I did have an elk spike. Well, not a spike, but my elk's been higher the last 2 months. And I'm guessing my nutrients weren't high enough to support that. So I ended up with these weak growth tips or burnt tips, whatever they're called. And I also did some reading on the base recession. And with base recession, they said that's an indication, I read that that's an indication that your phosphates have bottomed out. I read all this yesterday. Unfortunately, I have to work. I've got family. I mean, not unfortunately, but those things take precedent over trying to figure out what's going on with the tank. So yesterday evening, I did the testing, and sure enough, my Hanna ultra low phosphorus checker gave me a reading of 1. Now there's a margin of error there. So 1 could very well mean 0. Which really fits into what's happened in this tank. And I kind of have that suspicion. So unfortunately, I didn't test it sooner. Once I knew what the issue is, I've started dosing phosphates, and I started last night, and I did another dose this morning. And all I'm trying to do is trying to pump it back up. I want it at least 0.03. But at this point, because I've never really monitored nutrients before, and I've never had this happen where phosphates bottomed out. I think moving forward, at least for next month, I'm going to have to be much more diligent with my testing. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. So I just want to share that with you. If you notice any of these indicators in your system, like it could be an indication that your phosphates may be too low. But of course, you don't just want to test, you don't just want to dose phosphates, like make sure you test. So I made a lot of mistakes, but like with most things, life gets busy, and that's just how it is. So now that I've given you this super long story, I'm going to share my parameters with you, and then we're just going to go to the overhead shot, and we'll take a look at the tank. Things are not looking terrible. I mean, certain corals, yeah, they're not looking great, but there are certain pieces that don't appear to be too badly affected. And all that being said, all these issues I'm having, I'm still seeing a lot of growth. There's still a lot of growth in this system. So fingers crossed that we're not gonna have a lot of die-offs in the next 1 or 2 weeks. I'm gonna fix the phosphate issue, and hopefully things will start to balance themselves out. So here are my parameters currently, and I just want to stress again, I'm sharing my parameters because oftentimes I get asked what my parameters are. I'm not sharing them so that you can go make adjustments to your tank to try to match my parameters, because if you've listened to the story at all, these are bad. Like right now, the tank's not good. So if you're gonna copy anything, like don't copy that. We're gonna start at the first bommy. So here's the pink Cadillac. Its coloration kind of went downhill as I started to dose nitrates. So this is one of the coral that doesn't seem to have benefited as much from the dosing in terms of coloration. In terms of growth, you can see here it doesn't seem to have slowed down in growth. So next we have the JF Jolt. Then I've got another tenuous here. Here is the Red Diablo. As you can see, it's quite pale in a lot of areas. I did notice it paling, I think even last month. However, I was just hoping that maybe it was just due to some parameter swings, and over a period of time, it would come back. This is the pearlberry. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it looks like some of the tips are maybe dying off. Hopefully in a couple days, once phosphates pick up, this guy will recover. Here are a couple millies. Yeah, so pretty good pulp extension now on them. This is like a limey yellow tenuous. Here's the blue tip Turaki. You can see the tips are white. Any white areas, the flesh has stripped off of them already. And then I got a hot pink there. Here's another millie. This is CC Purple Haze from the top. It's really nice. It's a really nice coral. I love watching it. It's become one of my favorites to just sit down and look at. And so far, yes, the base is receding, but if you look at the branches, they are growing. So that's one positive. Sunset Millie on the left there. Not as hairy as before, but still pretty hairy. And then back here we have the Bali Green Slimer, classic. Here's the Hawkins from the Topdown, and I don't know if it's going to come through in the video, but I don't know if it's going to come through in the video, but the tips have, they're definitely a much lighter color. They seem really faded as well. So hopefully I don't lose this piece. Let's move on to the second Bommy. This is on my left is the second frag of pearlberry that I have. And this guy, I've noticed a bit of brown stuff on its tips as well. And here we can see a top down of the CM Pacific Chaos. It really looks to me like the next acro that I'm gonna lose may be this guy. The branches are they're becoming a really light color, and they're kind of showing that coloration right before the flesh all strips. So far I still see polyps. Hopefully I haven't caught the issue too late and this guy can recover. Then we got random pieces like this blue spruce that looks totally fine. It's brighter than ever, and it's just doing its thing. So not all the acros in this tank look too bad. There's the strawberry shortcake. It was doing well, and then I think in the last month it's kind of lost its pink color. Here's a wild acro. It's doing okay. And then the pieces here, top left is that orange sherbet. I forget the name of the species of that acro. We do have a number of variations of it in our hobby. And I like its growth form. So I'm really looking forward to having that grow out. The pieces down here, they all look pretty good. This is the lavender unicorn. The lavenders kind of disappeared, and it had lessened when I started to dose nitrates, but it's even less now. And I think it's less because of hopefully just the phosphate stress. Down there, top left is Jimmy Bean. In the middle there's a classic Pac-Man. Oh, yeah, I just want to show you guys. So at the bottom there, that is Red Planet. And it's growing really well. The growth tips are growing pretty fast. This lime Stylophora, he looks like he's losing a bit of polyps. So I've never seen the Stylos lose polyps before. That's probably a bad sign in this tank. Then we've got the teal dragon. So he's growing, he's continuing to grow. Right beside him, underneath this WWC yellow tips, we have the forest fire digi. Doing fine as well. This Cali tort looks okay. Oregon tort looks okay. And I can't show you guys the rainbow loom, but he's looking sad. And that's pretty much it. Here's a Godzilla. You know what, his coloration always, I don't know if it's due to its color. It never looks good on camera. But to my eyes, it looks amazing. And then right beside it, DV Ember Eyes is doing good as well. As you can see, not everyone is doing terribly. And even though I'm experiencing this now bottoming out of phosphates, the acros are all, for the most part, still growing. And I wouldn't say they're growing fast because we've experienced a heat wave. I've had to keep my windows closed. So the pH in the tank is probably lower than what it normally is. And I've also stopped using kalkwasser in my auto top off. The reason I've done that is because the calc has kind of jammed up my hose. So instead of continuing to dose the kalkwasser, I just increased the 2-part dosing. And for now, I'm not going to be using it. That's it for this video, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed this video. In the future, I hope you do not run into this issue. However, if you do, hopefully my experience will be able to help you pinpoint what is wrong with your tank faster. At least faster than how long it took me to figure things out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and take care and stay safe, my friends. I'll see you next time.